Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how top experts sell their ideas, their value, and their services. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees. She's back. My favorite hijacker, Ellen Melko Moore, who we've interviewed before, but then she turned the tables on me and she did one of only 2 hijack episodes that we've ever done on this show. The other one was my wife. So it's like, that's it. The only 2 people that ever hijacked and turned the tables on me. Ellen, welcome back.
Thank you so much, David. It's an honor to be here. I'll try to keep my hijacking to a minimum.
No hijack today, because I'm hijacking your brain and your brilliance.
Fair.
So, Ellen, you are the founder, the president, the grand poobah of
like
Supertight social selling. We talked about this before, about the Supertight couch. And people will have to go back and listen to your previous episode to find the secret goodies about the Supertight couch.
Yeah.
But give us a little bit for the folks that might not have heard the previous episode, their loss. Tell us a little bit about your professional background and what brought you to the work that you're doing right now.
You know, just like everyone else in digital marketing, I started out as a college rhetoric English professor.
We all do.
Right?
We all do.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I was teaching at University of Denver for several years. The thing that's relevant about this is I did teach like persuasion, persuasive writing, influential writing, understanding audience. Anyway, loved teaching, hated being in academia because it takes so long for anything to happen. So I escaped and started my first business when I was about 30. And this was kind of at the opening of the internet age. And I created a company for people in book clubs, in reading groups. And within a year and a half, I was doing consulting for Oprah and Gail and The Early Show and public radio, because everyone at that time was sort of being like, oh, hey, book clubs are actually pretty important. They have a lot to do with book sales. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So then I thought after that, I was like, I wonder if I could teach, because I know how to teach. I wonder if I could teach people to have that kind of early success that I had, that was not because I was such a great business person. It was because I had a super tight brand concept. Now, for those of you out there who are performers or musicians or any of that stuff, you know, in performance, I was a dancer. A performance is either tight, like a musical performance, a stage performance. It's either tight, like on point, or it isn't, right? It's kind of sloppy. And so that's where super tight comes from. I would look at people's, brands, and it would be stuff that, David, the best way to look at this is like a pair of sweatpants. You get your sweatpants, and when you first get them, they have that like nice tight band, right? And then over time, you keep wearing them, keep washing them, and that elastic starts stretching out. So that's what happens in this sort of intentional success entrepreneurial workplace is people start out with a concept that at one time is really tight. Like, let's say they're going to be digital marketing professional and they're going to specialize in women-owned businesses. Well, 6 or 7 or 8 years ago, that would be a very specific niche, right? Another way to think of super tight is niching. But over time, unless you're like the number one in the nation, all these other people rush into that spot. They all jump in your sweatpants with you. And so then it starts to spread out. So that's what Supertight is about. Supertight social selling. It's about digital. It's about how to create brands and positioning in what you're doing that sell. And then most specifically, we really focus on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is like a tube of toothpaste that we're going to use to squeeze the toothpaste through. And what we like doing is creating campaigns for like high level, very lucrative clients on LinkedIn by choosing some aspect of your business and making it tighter. So I'll just say this, then I'll shut up. So for example, in that, you're that digital marketer who's selling to women-owned businesses. Well, what if on LinkedIn you focused on women-owned law firms? All of a sudden, you go from being one of many to a specialist, right? And then we can create the rest of your profile, your marketing, and your sales that you're doing on LinkedIn to go with that campaign. So I know that's a long story, but that's how it happened.
No, that's brilliant. That's absolutely what we're after. I believe we've done over 300 episodes. The phrase now they're jumping into your sweatpants has never been uttered on this show until this very moment.
I'm honored. Yeah, a bunch of other people got in your sweatpants with you. And so
a bunch of other people got in your sweatpants and all hell broke loose.
Pretty much, yes. Because before, those were your private sweatpants. But now, since the pandemic, 6.8 million more people became consultants, service providers, coaches. So a lot more people just jumped in this marketplace, which makes competition more intense. Yeah,
for sure. I want to mention something that sort of went by quickly in passing that people need to pay attention to. I want to ask you a follow-up question about. You said you position yourself as the digital marketing agency for women-owned law firms on LinkedIn. So the rest of your business, when you're not on LinkedIn, because the fear that people have as they're listening, they're quaking in their boots. But Ellen, what if I turn off the rest of the women-owned businesses? What if it doesn't work? What if I need to change it?
Right.
So when you say, okay, we're going to position you this way on LinkedIn, talk about how to kind of test market that, how often we should change that up, how much that needs to be reflected on our website or on other social media platforms? Or do we keep kind of the LinkedIn world within guardrails and say, that's just who I am on LinkedIn?
That's a great.
Tell us how that works.
It's a great question. So, of course, for all the years I've been doing this, people's first reaction is always, but what if I, turn away these people? What if I guess wrong? And that's a very, important question. Obviously, it's your business. We can't just be like, okay, I hope this works out for you. Bye. See ya. Right. But LinkedIn, if anyone listening has watched the TV show Stranger Things, if you have kids or teenagers, LinkedIn is like the underground. It's like the upside down world from that show. And what that means basically is like there's like tumbleweeds rolling by. It's dark. It's murky. LinkedIn isn't like the rest of the digital world. And my argument is, since most people aren't just racking in clients hand over foot with their LinkedIn profile and their LinkedIn content, seems like a place we could experiment, right? Like if you're not making all this money from it right now and you're scared about choosing the wrong kind of more targeted client, which you could, leave your website alone, leave your marketing alone, do what you're doing elsewhere, and then test in this strange world that, by the way, is not social media. People talk about it's like professional social media, but it isn't. It's networking. That's why most people's content doesn't do very well, because it's not just a social media platform. That's another story. I don't want to get too into that. But point being, you can test a campaign on LinkedIn for a short period of time, 2 to 3 months, and see, is this audience responsive, right? Are these people connecting? Are they active on LinkedIn? Do they have enough money? Do they have a budget to pay for you? All the things, right? And so, David, we talk about these 4 categories: their ability to pay, ATP, their eagerness to pay, that's ETP, meaning I'm sophisticated enough to know I got to pay a lot to get good stuff. 3rd category, do you like being around those people? And 4th category, are they on LinkedIn? Are they active? Can you find them, right? So what we say is, don't worry about all of it. Test an audience for a couple of months and see what your results are. And then if you find, a lot of people do find that they start liking this more elevated audience more, and then they start bringing it into other parts of their brand, their website, other places. That's often what happens for people. And for me, it is about, like, I understand, like, the riches are in the niches for sure, especially if you're a smaller business, right? But I understand being scared to pick the wrong niche and thereby not getting the rich. So I like using LinkedIn as a place to test those things.
Yes. Holy smokes, so much value in this episode. Listen, if you are loving what you're hearing, feel free to download, subscribe, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to The Selling Show. Now, back to the interview. And now, full disclosure, everyone needs to know that I am an Ellen Melko Moore fan and client. And so we did this work a couple of years ago.
We did.
And my LinkedIn profile is unchanged because it started working really well.
Good.
And we could have changed it, or, like you said, hey, every 2-3 months, you're testing it. And when we say testing it, you're not just sitting around passively saying, well, who's going to knock on my door?
No.
So break down a little bit of the campaign that you helped us with, because we're targeting, number one, we're researching those questions that you just said. Who are you after? Are they the right people? Are they able to pay, eager to pay? Mm-hmm. Are they serious prospects?
Right.
And then one of the first things that you taught us to do that works incredibly well and is a total genius innovation, I think, is, and you share this on your webinars and your trainings as well, is you reach out to someone and you say, hey, Barbara, it seems we have XYZ in common, whatever it is, find some common ground. Please take a look at my profile and let me know if you think it makes sense for us to connect.
Yes.
So you're not going, I'm going to add you to my network on LinkedIn. Yeah. You're saying, hey, take a minute, check out what's on my profile. Let me know if you think it makes sense for us to connect. And then you let them take that proactive step.
Yeah.
So that's how you can test if that LinkedIn profile, if that LinkedIn messaging is working. Did I get it, or what nuances?
No, that's really good.
Add?
I think the only thing I would add, and again, if something's working, you don't have to keep changing it, but sometimes it's good to look. So David, in your case for that particular campaign, we looked at a particular type of business, and we looked at a particular size of business. And I think we looked at like a couple different types of like industries that those people would be in, right? So just give me one example of one of those types of industries that your target client might be in, because I think it makes more sense if there's a real...
Sure. So this would be management consultants who are already past 100K per year of revenue.
Okay, perfect. So then how one would test that is find, say, the first thing you would do is look up 10 or 20 management consultants. You'd use the search features on LinkedIn. You'd find some of those people and you'd go check out, say, 10 profiles and just see in general, are any of these people active on LinkedIn, right? Just look. So you'd be like, well, of these 10 management professionals, 7 of them are not active. They just have a profile. That's it. But 3 of them are pretty active. And 3 out of 10 in a particular industry isn't bad. We can work with that, right? So that's kind of the first place. Then when you're sending those messages to the people who own those types of businesses, what you're looking for each week is how many people agree to connect from that group. And when you follow up with other messaging, either offering them a gift or offering them a free meeting or whatever you're going to do to provide value, how many people are saying yes? So you can do that and get a sense pretty quickly, even if all you're testing is, say, 20, 30, 40, 50 people, whether it's a niche that's worth pursuing, or is it kind of maybe not so much because nobody's connecting and nobody's responding. And that very well could be because they're just not active on LinkedIn. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean you suck and you picked the wrong thing. It could just be that group of people's like, but that's how you would start to test. And, back in the old days, it would have been like, Facebook ads and all that stuff. And I think this is kind of a neat thing because anybody can test this without necessarily paying for all the stuff. Right. You can experiment. Did that answer that question?
Yes. Very much so. Let's move on and talk about what's coming down the pike. Because one of the awesome things about working with you and being in your community is you are always like 3 steps ahead on LinkedIn. Like, what's going on with the algorithm? What's new? What are the new features? What's coming? What's going away? What used to work great? What now sucks? What used to suck and now it works great?
Yeah.
So talk to us about some of the things that you're seeing and sharing with your clients as far as trends.
Well, thank you. And I just got to give credit to my partner, Mark Fusmith, because he's really the one who's constantly scanning to find out what's going on and all those things. And then I just get to show up and look relatively smart. But anyway,
so Mark does most of the work. You get most of the credit. Is that how it works?
That's pretty much how it is. I'm kind of, I wave. And, I'm a soft shoe routine. You and I, David, are a transactional personality called performer. And we're the people you want out front because we will do all the things for all that. But I think the thing about LinkedIn that's hard is, first off, it's just such a weird place. It doesn't act like other social media. So then the problem is what most people do is they take the same thing they do, whatever, Twitter, Facebook, somewhere else, and then they just put content in LinkedIn. And then people rightfully say, I'm not getting any results. I'm not getting anything. Nothing's happening, right? Because again, it behaves a little bit differently. And so the algorithm and anyway, all the stuff. So what's working right now that I'm a pretty big fan of, at least for the moment, is LinkedIn newsletters. So now when you hear this, audience and or David Newman, you may be groaning and crying and saying, I don't want to do one more newsletter. I'd rather shoot myself in the kneecaps first. And I say, you have my sympathy. But let me just tell you this. There's about 800 million people on LinkedIn, but there's only about 11,000 people so far doing LinkedIn newsletters. And there's a database you can go search, which has all the newsletters. And so you can put in like your topic and find out how many other people have marketing newsletters on LinkedIn. You could find that out. And you might look and be like, oh God, there's going to be thousands. But no, there's actually only 6. Oh, look, all these other 6 newsletters, they have really boring titles. Oh, look, here's one that's got, 100,000 readers. All right, I'm going to go check out what this person is doing, right? You can kind of look ahead. So when you understand that I'm not good at math, but the difference between 800 million users and 11,000 tells me that are actually doing it. It tells us that this is a moment that you can grab. Now, like all other moments on LinkedIn, it will come and go, right? Like, so maybe in a year or two, if you offer anyone your newsletter, they will just want to punch you because they're like, I'm subscribed to like 80 LinkedIn newsletters and I just can't, right? Kind of like a couple of years ago when people would ask you to subscribe to their Facebook group and you're just like, I'm worn out, right? I can't be in another Facebook group.
Right.
But right now there's a huge opportunity. Now, even more important, your newsletter could be super short, doesn't have to be long. It could be a piece of content that you were going to make as a post, right? Like you don't have to worry about like, is it too long? Is it too short? Just, is it interesting? Is it valuable? That's pretty much it. Now, but here's what's cool. When you put out your newsletter, publish your newsletter, every single person you are connected to on LinkedIn right now is going to be invited to subscribe to your newsletter. Every single person.
Via email.
Via email and via their LinkedIn notifications.
Got it.
Both things. Okay. Now, if you've got a big audience like, David Newman, that might be making your ears perk up a little bit. But get this. After you start publishing the newsletter, every single time you put out an issue, it's going to show up. If I'm a subscriber to your newsletter, I'm going to see it in the feed itself. If I happen to be looking, I'm going to definitely see it in my notifications. Ellen Do It Marketing has released a new newsletter. Here's the link. But also, I'm going to receive a message in my regular work email that reminds me. So my chances of missing it aren't good. Now, I might decide I don't want to look, but that's totally different than a post, a piece of content which people might see or might not see. So we're just telling everyone, pick a cool name for your newsletter. If you have to choose between cute and clever and clear, pick clear, right? Which hurts me because I love things that are cute and clever.
Right.
So anyway, our newsletter is called LinkedIn for the Top 1%. That's what ours is called. It's not the cleverest name I've ever come up with, but at least it's clear who we're trying to talk to, right?
Right.
I think I have like maybe 6,500 connections on LinkedIn. And I have almost 1,300 subscribers to my newsletter. And for the first time in a long time, when I put that out, I get comments from people that never commented on my content, that didn't, because they're just seeing it all the time now. And as marketers, we know there's sort of this thing that happens when people keep seeing things.
Right.
Cumulative effect. So does that make sense, David?
Well, it makes a ton of sense. When you create the newsletter, that's what sends out the invitation automatically? Or is every issue sending it out to people who are not already subscribed? Okay,
so no. The first time you publish it asks people if they want to subscribe.
Okay.
Right? Now, if I say no, ignore, right? I'm not going to get any more. I don't think.
Well, what if you simply delete that email and don't respond in any way?
I will get another invitation. The only way I stop getting the invitation is if I say no or ignore. Okay.
Interesting.
But get this, as new people connect to you, right? Let's say you and I've got a newsletter and you and I connect next week. Well, the next time I put out that newsletter, you're going to get an invitation to subscribe.
So all the new connections keep getting it on an ongoing basis.
Correct. So this is a huge change of strategy for us because we've always been the fans of, hey, keep it manageable. You don't need to connect everyone. You can have a smaller amount. Well, right now, my connection strategy is I've got all kind of the high-end people like you who are my referrals and clients. But I'm also adding lots of those lead gen kids who have big audiences because, again, I know the difference. I can tell the difference. I don't need to have personal conversations with all those people.
Right.
Those are big audiences that can then perhaps be seeing what we're doing. Right?
Wow.
So does that make sense, David? Does that?
I love it. So this is, I call this professional pestering, not from our standpoint, but from a platform when they want to put something new out.
Yes.
Like remember when Facebook Live was new, everything was pushing Facebook Live. You do Facebook Lives, the world starts to notice, they're doing Facebook Lives.
Right.
Now it's calmed down. The latest thing on the Facebook side is the @everyone, the @everyone tag. It's professional pestering. It's awesome. And now we find out LinkedIn newsletters, also professional pestering.
It's terrific professional pestering. What I've done just for this year, because I actually do not have time to write 2 different newsletters, I'm taking old things I wrote for my regular email newsletter, right? And I'm updating them for 2022. So I put it in the thing on LinkedIn. I go through, make sure all my jokes are relevant. Like I'm not talking about like, I don't know, the Kardashians in skinny jeans, like 10-year-old joke, whatever. Right. So, I do that. And that's kind of how I'm handling it right now. And like I said, I think the real key is choosing the title to your newsletter, because that when people first get the invitation, they're not going to know anything about it. They're not going to get to read a description of your newsletter. They're going to get a thing that says, do you want to subscribe to blah, blah, blah? Okay. That's
so are the titles necessarily unique, or could there be multiple newsletters from multiple people with the same exact title, like marketing for plumbers?
Mm-hmm. You know what, David? That's an excellent question. I don't know. Because potentially, yes. I'll have to ask Mark about that. I don't know. I mean, I think they're saying that one person gets one newsletter, but let me just explain the origin. Because if anyone's listening to this who did LinkedIn back in the day, there was a minute when LinkedIn was acting like, oh, we've got these articles now. And if you write 100 articles, you're going to be a LinkedIn star, typical stuff that they say. And then basically people put all these articles out because at the time, LinkedIn was trying to compete with HubSpot and like create blogs, basically. And then they acted like that mattered. And then like a few months later, they were like, oh, actually, we don't care about that. So all these people wrote like, tens. So anyway, what they're doing is trying to redeem that article feature. So you basically, when you create your newsletter, you go to articles where you would have been releasing blogs. It has a little button that says create your newsletter, right? And then that's where you're doing all this. I think this is their effort to be like, yeah, we did really mean that articles was a good thing. But again, to compete with anyone doing blogs. And now they want to compete with MailChimp and people doing newsletters.
So we have 243 articles because we also drank the article Kool-Aid.
Of course you did.
You're saying we could take the old article, copy, paste it, drop that evergreen content into a newsletter, and then pump that out.
I think you could, especially as long as you put like a different title on it, maybe.
Sure.
The one thing I don't know about, so let me just say this. I know these things are being entered into these newsletter issues. I think they're calling them like episodes, which just annoys me because an episode is for TV. You don't.
Right.
But anyway, but that's what they're calling them, something like that. Episodes or issues or editions or something like that. Anyway, they are going to be searchable by SEO, these published issues of your newsletter. So if that piece of article has already been whatever metadataed and all the stuff, do you know what I'm saying? Like if it's already been, so we all know if we do content, you're not just supposed to keep putting the same content out over and over again. So I don't know, probably what I would do is take those old things. I would change the titles maybe. Mm-hmm. I would look through and make sure that like whatever words or phrases you want to hit for, maybe you put some of those in.
Right.
Changes. Now, I think that would probably be enough.
What's the recommended frequency? Should we be doing this twice a week, once a week, every day? How much?
I would say once a week seems like a good idea if you have enough content.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone making themselves sick over this, but I think once a week is good. I think if people see it every day, they'll get sick of it and they won't like it. But once a week, and the idea, as with all content marketing, is you want to give them a lot of value. And then at the very end, if you want to put in a call to action for whatever it is you want people to do. So like for me, David, what I'm putting at a lot of the end of mine is, hey, if you have a business that's making at least $150K, and you meet this and this criteria, please sign up for a LinkedIn profile audit. And here's where you go to do that.
Yes.
So that's a call to action, but because I don't want to do those with every single person that gets that newsletter. But if they meet that criteria, then yes, I am eager to do that. Yeah,
for sure.
So for the first time, I'm having more strangers like reach out to me. There's people commenting on this newsletter who kind of aren't my regular audience or readers. And they're just like, oh, hey, what about this or that? And I have had people reach out to me in Messenger, say, I saw your newsletter. I want to work with you. Now, that does not usually happen. Like back in the glory days, if you put out good content on LinkedIn, people would message you and be like, oh, this is so good. But that hasn't happened for years to most people until they see it again and again and again and again and again. So I'm excited about this. I think this is a moment to grab.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the previous moment to grab and if it's still grab worthy.
Okay.
Now we're doing grab worthy and people getting into your sweatpants. This is a bad combo. Heading in a bad direction.
Yeah, I've been like this since I was class clown in high school. All conversations turned like vaguely like
they all turn raunchy in some way.
Yeah, but like not just salacious, but like also weird. So yeah.
Oh, totally. Well, that's the best kind of salacious, don't you think?
It's keeping up. Yeah.
So the last time that we were romanced and left by the curb in the dark, cold, alone, hungry. Was LinkedIn video. LinkedIn video. Yes. Where's LinkedIn video today? Darling or Kim Kardashian, see you back in 2012?
Well, here, let me ask your listeners this. Do you go on LinkedIn for fun?
No.
Never, right?
We don't.
Okay. Do you ever go on like YouTube for fun or even Facebook for fun social media? Yes, you do, right? Okay. So longer form videos might work in those places. But on LinkedIn, nobody is there to sit down and really hear your thoughts. So video, I would say, gosh, if you can get it to 30 seconds and under, if you can hit it and quit it that fast, then by all means do so. And you better be compelling on video.
Is it still worth doing a video at all? Or is it better to have a really compelling text post?
I can do a short video, 30, 40 seconds, right? When you post that video, you've got room for the text above. So what I like to do is put a little bit in that text above. So even if you decide you don't watch 40 seconds of me yammering on, you can at least read the text and get some value, right? And then hopefully that text makes you actually want to watch the video. But I'm counting on that you may not.
Right.
So that's how I handle that. Yeah, and I would advise that. LinkedIn Live, I've yet to meet the person who succeeded with that. So if they exist, I'm excited to hear from them, but I haven't encountered it yet. Because again, people aren't hanging out on LinkedIn watching stuff. There was a minute they were doing LinkedIn audio. This is what they always do, by the way. They're like, oh, the kids like Clubhouse. Let's do LinkedIn audio. Like, no, the kids like Facebook Live. Let's do LinkedIn Live. Now, it sounds like I'm just being so harsh, but I think the problem is they sometimes try to copy other platforms.
Totally.
Without understanding context. Because again, I go on YouTube to watch fun YouTube videos. I can waste 18 hours there. I would never sit around for like 2 hours on LinkedIn just having a blast. Like, I'm sure there are people who do that, but it's not me, right? So that's what I would say about video. I would say don't worry about the audio. LinkedIn Live, if you are winning on that, I want to hear from you, like for real.
Yeah.
I bet there's people who know how to do it. It's not me, though. And the people I've seen succeeding on that already have huge platforms, right? So people are like, oh, it's Tony Robbins. Oh, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. This is different, right? Those are some of the trends.
Yes, I know. Terrific episode here, but have you seen our latest web training? Oh my goodness, pop over there right now, or as soon as you're done listening to this episode, it's doitmarketing.com/webinar. See you over there. Back to the good stuff.
I want to talk about the world's worst boyfriend. And you know who the world's worst boyfriend is because this is your term and you've written about it and you've LinkedIn about it and you teach your clients about it. Talk about who is the world's worst boyfriend and what is the latest with him.
The world's worst boyfriend or girlfriend, depending on how you roll, is the LinkedIn algorithm. Now think about it this way. Imagine the LinkedIn executives are, trying all these different things, right? They're, let's see if this works or this works or this works. Meanwhile, there's a bunch of software people they keep in a basement somewhere, a bunch of tech people, many leagues underground who have to create algorithms based on all these shifting sands, right? So the algorithm is the world's worst boyfriend or girlfriend. It's not entirely its fault. It was kind of abused by other people in its family, in my opinion. But the reason it's so weird is they change it a lot and don't really talk about it. And I don't really get that, especially not for people who are paying for Sales Navigator. Like, is it cool? Could we just have a report once a week about, hey, this year we love 3 hashtags. Hey, LinkedIn algorithm, why do you love 3 hashtags and not 8 hashtags? Because I said so. Okay, cool. So we compare it to a boyfriend, girlfriend, the one you go out with, and they've got kind of like those standards and like you need to behave this way and that way. And then maybe I'll love you because I'm really hot and I'm popular and you want to be with me. But then next week, it's like, eh. And that conversation we had about articles was a great example. It's like the algorithm, oh, we're going to love you if you do 100 articles. Oh, wait, we don't care. So what's it up to this week? Well, as far as I know, it still does like 3 hashtags. So when you post anything, 3 is a good number to go with. If it changes that, it hasn't in a while. So we'll keep you updated. Hopefully.
So minimum of 3, there's also a maximum though, correct? Like you shouldn't go bananas on like 10 hashtags.
Well, it likes 3.
Oh, it likes 3 more than anything.
More than anything. So minimum of 1, you could go to 20, but apparently the metadata algorithm likes 3. That's just like an example of a weird thing.
Right.
Why? I have no idea. I don't know. So what is the algorithm like these days? Well, right now it's like in those LinkedIn newsletters because we're all behind those. So again, if you're going to jump, don't think about it for 6 months. Give it a go. See what happens. It's giving a lot to that. You know, right now, again, I think people are, I don't know that the algorithm likes it, but people like when posts are more personal. Because remember, people are bored on LinkedIn. So when you're, because everything's very sort of PBS, professional, just like, oh, hey, look, I'm doing stuff and it's successful. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
It's PBS. So if you go a little more personal and a little bit more, now do fake vulnerability, because I don't think anybody likes that. But I just mean, I've seen posts really pop, for example, that did something like a woman whose mother just died wrote a post about her mother's 3 most important lessons to her as a career woman, right? And that did really, really well. So part of it is because there's a dead mother. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be dismissive, but there's that. But another part of it is people are now looking for kind of more ways to connect the personal and professional.
Yes.
And I think if you can kind of give people a reason to read your content that's not just, I am an expert at this and I know stuff, like you want that there. So I don't know if the algorithm is pushing it or not, but they are getting more views for sure. So those are kind of the things I have noticed. So then speaking of the algorithm, unfortunately, there's another topic that probably we have to allude to, which is Messenger, right? LinkedIn outreach, one-to-one communication.
Yes.
So from about 2015 to 2018, everyone had automation lockdown, like anyone who was seriously doing LinkedIn. It was all automated. And so you send out 100 connection requests a week or a day or whatever the limit was, right? And then LinkedIn got mad and it started shutting down all these people's accounts and taking them away forever, because once you've been bad to the algorithm, this boyfriend is never going to forgive you. You can write all the letters you want, please take me out of LinkedIn jail. And it's just like, no, I'm not doing that, right? Some new software is out there. People have figured out how to have automation that basically does, instead of sending out like 10 messages a day or 100 messages a day, it'll send out like 6 and then 7 and like 8. So it kind of goes back and forth. And apparently, again, I'm not telling people to do this. This is up to you whether you want to look into it or not. But apparently there is a rise in that sort of thing. And so far, like Empire Strikes Back, like LinkedIn has not struck back on that. And so I think the reason they did it before was they just didn't want to turn all of LinkedIn into this giant sales page of people just spamming,
pitching each other.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So I think that's fair that they did that. And then at the same time, I've never had anyone come to me and say, Ellen, I really want to spend an hour to 2 hours a day on LinkedIn sending individual messages to people I don't know. That sounds like a great use of my time, right? And yet, often the personalized messages where you acknowledge something you and this person have in common, and then to check out my profile, see if it makes sense. those do perform the best of anything I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say I don't want to get in trouble with LinkedIn jail. I'm not saying whether or not I'm testing automation, but let's just say I could be, I could not be.
Right. My guess is that you're totally not. Totally.
Oh, no, I would never.
Not totally.
Things.
Right.
No,
totally not. That's my thinking.
Yeah, no, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
But we'll see. We'll see what the algorithm has to say about it.
We will see what the world's worst girlfriend and boyfriend runs hot and cold. You never know what they're thinking. One day they love Italian. The next day they love steak. The next day they hate steak. You don't know what's going on. And you cannot get a good relationship going with this person.
But can I say one really nice thing about this platform that I love and have been abusing for the past 40 minutes? Here's the thing to get about it. If you get this, you're going to win. LinkedIn is like a boring party that everyone has to attend. And the people who are at this really boring party are often people with lots of money, lots of success. We call them money and mindset people, meaning they've got the budget and they've got the mindset to understand they need to pay for things for them to be good, right?
Right.
So imagine you're at this party that everyone has to be at, but nobody wants to be there. And it's kind of boring and dull, and it's sort of confusing, kind of the social rules of the party. But since the pandemic, the world's most successful people are here on it, trying to interact, trying to figure something out. There is an incredible advantage being someplace and bringing a little creativity and a little fun and a little originality and just personality, which of course you have none of, David. So this is nothing you're going to be able to do.
Yeah, total wash.
But that personal connection, the creativity and the personality, you can do so much because you have this captive audience that, frankly, as the English say, is mostly bored to sobs, but they're there.
Yeah.
So this is what's great about LinkedIn, and it's what's great about it now. And because almost no one knows how to use it at all. I mean, I barely kind of know what's magical about it. I mean, barely kind of. And again, we're looking at it with a microscope, like, what are you doing? And we can figure it out. So if you understand that, there is a win you can have here that you aren't going to have necessarily on Twitter or Clubhouse or Facebook or Instagram or even TikTok, although I am a TikTok fan. And it's not going to change. There's not going to suddenly be a rival professional social media /networking place. LinkedIn has held this spot for longer. They were there before Friendster. They were there before MySpace. If some of you aged people remember these.
Yes.
And many other people have come to try to take LinkedIn away from LinkedIn, and no one has been able to. It's boring stodginess, perhaps saves it. I don't know. But people go and they're on some other network for a while, and then all the hype and the community and the ecology, and we're doing stuff. And then, 6 months later, they're like, yeah, and then they're back.
Yeah, there you go. The boring party that everyone has to attend.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, as we're wrapping up, I know that people want to get connected to more Ellen Melko Moore brilliance. Where can we send people? What can we put in their hands? Where should they go? What can they get? We're going to put links to all of this in the show notes right under this episode. How would you like people to connect with you? What resources can we give them?
Okay, great. So you can message me on LinkedIn or send me a connection request. And in your connection request, make sure you put a note and just say, I heard you on David Newman's show. Okay. And I will definitely connect with you. If you have questions after that, ask me questions. That's probably the easiest way to get it done. We do have a gift. I didn't bring it this time. It's actually the same gift I brought last time because it's my favorite gift. So I will go find the link again and get it up there. But we have something called the Connection Intervention, which is when people send you a connection request and you want to flip them and sell them. There's a little technique that we use there. And so
we will link that up in the show notes. We have no idea what it is, but this is why we have amazing technical people and podcast people, because lo and behold, when this episode is released, Ellen Melko Moore, that link to that goodie is going to be under this episode at thesellingshow.com. So have no fear, people. Ellen has no idea what it is. I have no idea what it is, but you're still getting it.
It's a PDF and it teaches you how to handle connection requests so that you can sell them instead of having them sell you.
Well, no, you know what the thing is. We just don't know what the URL is.
Oh yeah, no, I don't right now, but we'll find out.
I knew that you knew what the thing was. It's like she has no idea what she's giving you. She has no idea, but it's going to be awesome.
Something. I found it in my files.
There you go. I found this thing in my hard drive from 2014. I think you'll like it. Here it is.
It's going to work. Totally work.
Well, needless to say, it's always so great to have you on because number one, I think we learn the most when we are laughing the most. And you win both awards for this episode.
Thank you. Certainly
the most fun and certainly the most learning. Thank you. You're awesome. And just, keep doing the awesome stuff that you're doing. And everyone listening, if you're not connected to Ellen Melko Moore, if you're not tapping into what she's doing on LinkedIn, if you're not following her, and dare I say, if you're not hiring her, you are totally missing out. So there you go. How about that for an authentic, real paying client plug right there, EMM.
I love it. Thank you. I'm grateful. Yeah, I love you, David. Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.